Our agenda is quite packed, so please put your phones on vibrate or turn them off or whatever you need to do with them to set them aside so we can get on with our meeting. We have 8 items on the work session, and then on with our regular agenda. We have quite a few. When we adopt the agenda, 2 commissioners can make a motion to deal with the issues that needs to be dealt with as soon as possible. That can be done to modify the agenda according to the Robert Rules of Order. Other than that, welcome, and we will proceed. And I will be leaving probably at 12. I have a group of people from Canada to a meeting with the chapter back home. So I'm going to be meeting with some Canadians, and I don't know what they're about or what they're there for, but I will soon find out. And we have Navajo Government Development Commission meeting tomorrow, and there will be part of it. So with that, thank you very much, and let's try to be courteous and try not to punch each other in the eyes or poke each other in the eyes and work this through. So thank you very much. We will proceed. The Spanish Valley Planning Audience. Mark?
Yes.
With the landmark. Could we have a chair up here, please? Yeah, bring that up. Thank you, sir. No. You just speak, yeah.
Okay, thank you for having me here today. This is really I think my last meeting that I'm scheduled to have. This is part of the moratorium, the highway commercial moratorium in Spanish Valley. We've been working on that for about the last 4 or 5 months. The moratorium deadline is just about over, not having already reached that stage. So what we are presenting here today are the results, and I have a little PowerPoint presentation. Can I walk through that?
Commissioners, let's try to keep our reports in a timely manner so we can move on with the rest of the group. And I think they were set up, the county seat is set up using the PowerPoint. So whatever you got, let's see if we can have.
He's set up ready to go. We switched.
I'm ready to go.
Seats, and so he's all ready to go.
Okay.
Do I need to speak into the microphone? Should I carry it with me? Or
No,
should
I think you're fine.
Okay, I'm going to try to briefly go through. I want to give a little bit of background. The purpose of the project. We met, again, about 4 or 5 months ago, and it was really to deal with highway commercial along US 191. Part of that was we had to review what was in place today, all of your plans, that sort of thing, and we were told to meet with, to do additional outreach with the residents in the area, as well as then come back with some new ordinances to be considered. We looked at the moratorium legislation because that was really important that we tried to meet what was required for that particular ordinance, and that we then took a look at the area plan that was adopted in 2018 by the Commission, which really is the policy for this area that would also be used to help us figure out what the ordinances should be. This was just so that you know, this is the policy document for the Spanish Valley area. And this is just so everybody knows what the area that we're talking about, the area just south of the border on US 191. And this is the map that shows what the vision is for the area. And what we tried to do is think about this map when we went forward with ordinances to be considered. There were a lot of principles that came out of we had a lot of meetings 2 years ago with the public, and there was some of the key things that were there. The very number one thing that came up was maintaining the dark sky. It was the number one thing that came up of the public. Affordable housing. They didn't want it to be like Moab. They wanted to get away as much as possible from tourism-based stuff, but that's probably not possible totally, but that's what they were wanting. They wanted a lot of ideas about buffers between uses and about the sensitive environmental areas, the Pat Creek and those sorts of things. And they wanted a different type of highway development, commercial, than inside the valley itself. So we met with a property owner who lives adjacent to, this was all predicated by Loves, as you remember, and that we met with a resident who lived next door to the proposed project. We also met with Brian Torgerson from Sitla, Walter Bird, David Everett, who was the interim county administrator. And then we had a meeting with representatives of a coalition of people who lived in the area. They call themselves the North San Juan County Coalition. Once we had some ideas, we had a workshop with the public. We had well over 100 people there. And as you can see, we received 200 comments, dozens of phone calls. And so based on that, we proposed 10 ordinances. And the idea is that what we were trying to do is balance the needs and desires of the communities with those of the county and region. One of the things that the ordinance, the moratorium said, is that we should look at what's happening in Grand County and in Moab, in particular with the motels, hotels, overnight accommodations, as well as night dark sky, so that what we're doing up there is coordinated with those efforts. And now ultimately it should be aligned with the area plan. This is your existing zoning. 1,000 feet on either side of the highway is commercial, and then it's agricultural. The green is federal land. This is what we proposed originally in September. We released this, and as you can see, it looks somewhat similar to the area plan, which again shows us what we should be doing. The 1,000 foot along the highway was changed a little bit in order to respond to what was happening in the area. These are the 10 ordinances. Breaks them down into different, some of them are for those special color zones and others are for the entire area, such as the landscape ordinance, conserving water, or the dark sky ordinance. This just breaks it down. The first zone is for basically single family and that type of residential. It's on the north end where there's a lot of privately held land. The next zone is what we call planned community zone. It's where you can, if you have 200 acres at minimum, you can do some creative design and do some different types of development. Residential is the primary type of development though. We have what we call residential flex. It's a transition zone between the residential to the east and to the highway commercial to the west. So it's making, again, that idea of transitions. Business flex, it also requires transitions between the residential in the PC zone, but it also gives a lot of flexibility for business development and getting jobs, sort of a job base through the valley. We then had what we call highway flex on the west side. It's almost all Sitla land. This is also there would be highway commercial type uses, but there would be some flexibility to accommodate some special type of residential or other uses that might fit in with the area. And then we have the highway commercial. So you can see the highway commercial is not 1,000 feet everywhere. It's responding to what's on the site, what's there today, and trying to provide some opportunity, but at the same time acknowledge the uses that are already there. The water efficient landscape requirements cover the whole area. Outdoor lighting, so this is the dark sky ordinance, covers the whole area. Sign and display requirements, this was not part of what we were looking at originally, but there were some people that wanted us to address it. So we proposed a code for the entire area. And then, because we were told to look at what was happening in Moab and Grand County, they've had huge issues with all the overnight accommodation, hotels, motels, those sorts of things. And they basically as you probably know, put on a stop to that. They said there's no more that going to be allowed for now until they can figure out how to allow it. And so what we've developed here is a code that those types of uses will be permitted, but they will be required to go through this overlay process to ensure that what you get, what the community gets here, is more than just a whole bunch of hotels and motels and campgrounds that don't provide anything for the community. It will require them to provide extra things such as housing for their employees, or for a cafe or a restaurant, the things that aren't there, that you, when you see a hotel motel, it's usually just for the users of that space. So we presented that to the Planning Commission, and this again is what we proposed. What they told us to take a look at was this, and as you can see, that these two lines right here, that's the 1,000-foot commercial zone right now. And so what you can see is they've expanded they're recommending that, or this was their original recommendation, this has been modified, that they expand that even further beyond the 1,000 feet into the district, and then that we convert the highway flex on that north part into just standard highway commercial. And a member of the Planning Commission went out and spoke to all the property owners. So he told me and asked them what they wanted, and they said that they wanted, if they had highway commercial at present, that most of them said they wanted that still. And the reason it got expanded even further out is, even if they had a small corner of their property that touched that 1,000-foot line, they thought it was fair that the entire lot then would be commercial. So what it's done, what it's done is sort of expanded the commercial potential expansion to the east. That's the main change that happened. The other things that they proposed, the text changes, was that they wanted to delete all text indicating that only one truck stop is permitted along Highway 191. That's what we, in order to deal with that sort of Loves issue, that was one of the things we were recommending. They wanted to delete all text requiring existing outdoor lighting to meet the lighting requirements. In other words, lighting that is there now doesn't have to change, which can impact the dark sky. They wanted to remove the text that requires your staff to go out and do inspections on lighting. And then they wanted to delete all text requiring a 50-foot no-build buffer around Hat Creek and other tributaries. On the map, they wanted those changes I just explained to you, and then change the highway flex zone. So we came back and said, well, this is a different direction than what we thought, but if you're going to have highway commercial expand out there, let's make it like the flex zone so that there's a transition between those residential uses. And it's going to require, then we don't get the Love situation, right? Then we don't get a residence right next door to a commercial use. And I wasn't able to go to their meeting a few days ago, but that apparently was rejected, that idea. And so they actually expanded the commercial on the north end a little bit more than what they previously proposed, particularly on the very far north end. And then they have quite a few other changes. So you can see and the other change that came up, we found out that in a recent legislative session, for key gravel operations, those sorts of things that are important for construction, that the state has said we can't change zoning on those. And so we're leaving them as the agricultural zone as they are now. That's for the gravel pit and for the asphalt operation. That's a state requirement.